tell me what, let's say, anyone under the age of 10, tell me what is this? What is this? Part of U.S. currency. All right, it's a dime, right? And what's this? It's another dime. So, what we have here are a pair of dimes, sometimes called a pair of dimes. Now, here we have our pair of dimes, and they're doing their thing. And all the way they're starting to move, there's a change. It's not the same. Maybe something is being created new. It's like they're shifting. It's a pair of dimes shifting. I remember that while I make my way over to the again, who can tell me what we just saw? Paradigms shift. And then, in the English language, we tend to shorten things. So let's call it a paradigm shift. But you got that. So paradigm shift. But guess what? It is a paradigm shift I'd like to talk with you about this morning, just like what the resurrection of Jesus is. A real paradigm shift is when you and I will view and experience reality in a different way than we ever have before. It's often a great change in society, systemic change, so that it makes us have to get used to the new way of seeing and doing things, whether we want to or not, though sometimes we can check out. Paradigm shifts are what hold the future, for good or bad, sometimes both. If I've confused some of you, let me give you an example, and there are too many to list. Who here still gets the morning paper delivered to their front door? Okay. Who here, how many of you get your news digitally? Like through the internet with an app for the newspaper, whatever? One, this is, okay. Your smartphone, tablet, laptop, desktop even. There's no paper. There's no ink. No turning pages. No getting, you gotta wet your fingers when you get a little bit older, and the oils just aren't as good as they used to be. It's you instead, and the hardware, and an internet hookup. Nothing like a Tribune, Sun-Times, or Daily Herald outside your door. That's a paradigm shift that we've experienced and are experiencing in communication and information. Before that, there was another paradigm shift in the same arena, from a town crier, smoke signals, handwritten letters, or the reports of travelers, to having news and other stuff printed on paper. Johannes Gutenberg changed the Western world when he invented the printing press. Before long, you could have printed stuff in your house, your church, your hospital, your academy. And once printing presses multiplied and spread, it lowered the cost. So from voice reports and letters to the printed many, many pages like books, another paradigm shift. There's a whole new way people got their information and communicated with each other and were able to read many more things. It changed how people saw the world and how they experienced a lot of what the world had to offer. Not just new, not just a shift, but a major systemic alteration. is another paradigm shift. We see that in a lot of areas. Alarm clocks and lots of clocks and watches today do not have ears or a face with hands, but they'll still tell time and they'll still go off when you schedule them to alarm. Sometimes maybe when you forgot to turn it off, they'll still go off. And the recent death of Beatles producer George Martin calls to mind how music used to be analog recording. And then came a paradigm shift, and even now, you rarely buy a digital music CD, a shift, but you have moved perhaps to another shift if you download your music. Those revolutions, all of the ones that I've mentioned, rearrange the perceptions and practices of science, recording, communication, and even life itself, which follow those changes, those shifts. A paradigm shift. Systemic change that alters how you and I view and experience life. Well, here's the ultimate paradigm shift. The resurrection of Jesus of Nazareth from the crypt. Behold the old paradigm. Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary the mother of James, and other women who came to the tomb that morning expecting to somehow move the stone, the round stone door on its groove so they could enter it, and they would anoint Jesus' body with the spices and ointments that they brought, their version then of embalming. Now, I used to wonder, what does this do? He's dead, it's not like embalming today. Is it just a show of respect? Oh no, there's more to it than that. I learned that the anointing of a body with spices and ointments was meant to speed up the decomposition of the body. In a year, they would come back, find his remaining bones, and put them into an ossuary. This would be moved to a storage in the rear of the tomb, and then that cut-out ledge in the tomb could be used again for the next cadaver. That was the old paradigm. Dead, bones rot, put in the box, next. For a moment, these women were still living with only the old paradigm, the one we all learned eventually, because dead is dead, and Jesus was dead. Plus, in taking a lesson from his life under the old paradigm, you do not buck authority, especially when they can greatly hurt you. Being unjustly killed in a bloody, horrible, and sadistic manner as Jesus was, that's in the old paradigm too. Man's inhumanity to man, and man's inhumanity to God in the person of the Son. People engaging in those and adopting them as business as usual are living, they think, in the ruling paradigm the way life is supposed to go and always will. Not so for those embracing the resurrection. Our world, of course, is filled with those still living under and being shaped by the influence of the old paradigm. It didn't exactly go away. Some essentially put it on a bumper sticker. Life is a 5-letter word that starts with B, and then you die. Maybe you've seen that bumper sticker, but it's kind of disappeared. Gangs kill over turf so they can profit over controlling drug sales, or for revenge or intimidation. Which reminds me, of what we've heard, murders are historically high in the city of Chicago. The toughest neighborhoods are home to a lot of pain and a lot of fear. In yesterday's Chicago Tribune, there was a front page article about some pastors and church members and community members in Beverly and Morgan Park, they're not as racked by gun violence as other areas of the city, but they still have been arranging prayers and getting people to pledge. They'll be praying for no murder to happen in Chicago on Easter Sunday, not a one. And they've also been holding educational and employment opportunities to try and reduce the gun violence, the old paradigm throughout Chicago. For them to even try that and put it out there for Chicagoland to see and to pray and to hope and be active for nonviolence bears witness to them living in the H-I-R-P. Christ is risen paradigm. So you can add to gangs, the lesser known crimes, the persons who chronically lie at work, or who take credit for your ideas, who mistreat you at school. They're living under the paradigm that expects Jesus to remain dead. Persons shrugging their shoulders at bullies, homelessness, corrupt politicians, and legislation that perpetuate unfairness. They also are, to some extent, still wearing the spectacles that only make sense of the old paradigm honored by Caesar, Pilate, Ananias, and Sapphira, and on. Their conviction that things will never change, that's part of the old paradigm. It's self-defending. The resurrection shows how profoundly God can change things, even in a couple of days. God can change things and people, families, and systems. Because Christ is risen. Here's the new paradigm for those with eyes to see, ears to hear, a heart to believe, and a mind that is not checked and left behind at the church door. When they went into the tomb, they did not find the body. And while they were perplexed about this, was it stolen? What happened? Suddenly 2 men in dazzling clothes stood beside them. And the men said to them, "Why do you seek the living among the dead? He is not here, but has risen." Welcome to the supreme paradigm. Jesus Christ has risen from the grave. In Jesus Christ, there is resurrection which overcomes death, both in the life to come and in other ways in this life. In him, there is resurrection, the supreme paradigm, which sometimes and ultimately overcomes brutality calling the shots, or terrorism, or injustice, or apathy. A new one began. A new paradigm, which does not fear death any longer, because Christ took on death, and despite dying and being entombed, he beat this new paradigm, beat it. That last enemy to be destroyed is death, as Eric read from Paul. The raising of Jesus from the dead by the power of God shows that there is a new system of life, a new paradigm, which leads those who are drawn to it to live a lovely, caring way. They also know his victory in the here and now, and the hereafter, and also can face evil with courage, and death with courage. Now those disciples in Luke, they did not believe what the women told them from their visit to the cemetery. For whatever reason, perhaps because the dead don't rise again. Their testimony from the tomb seemed to them an idle tale, and they did not believe it. They were wrong. They found that out. Their faith was able to short-circuit that self-preservation program in the old paradigm that says, this is always going to be this way, this is always going to be this way. That self-preservation program has been short-circuited and pulled out by these disciples when they encountered the risen Christ, and they were able to buy into the Christ is risen paradigm. The word then spread beyond that day and past the book of Acts. Mercy took hold in the Roman Empire, which up to that point had mocked and criticized mercy. It was considered weakness. Compassion towards your neighbors, strangers, welcoming those who were maybe kind of marginalized and not so much on the seen side of righteousness, were welcome. And they were more and more people were let know that there was a new reality to live by. Something that didn't end with death. Christ is risen paradigm. It was more than a paradigm shift, really. It was a paradigm birth. We couldn't really do that on the table of God. Persons under the influence of this paradigm, they were even willing to suffer and die if it helped others somehow or gave testimony to the depth of their faith. First 300 years of the church are only part of the story when the church was persecuted by en masse. The love of Christ is what now governed their minds and their hearts. What was once thought to be impossible and simple-minded became reality and honor. Christ arose as far from an idle tale, indeed. It shifted the paradigm of the old world into one of hope and patience and kindness, forgiveness, trust in an afterlife, in the many dwelling places of God, and freedom to challenge unrighteousness. That idle tale shifted persons and families, groups and institutions into the CIR, Christ is risen paradigm. Now, let me finish with one example. I may have shared this with you years ago, but it was at least 10 years ago. So some of you didn't hear it, some of you may not remember it, and I may not have even shared it. So it'll be fresh to most of us. An example of somebody living in a new paradigm. Christ is risen. During the Second World War, not a single Bulgarian Jew died in a concentration camp, largely because of the compassionate bravery of Metropolitan Kirill. As in all the countries of Nazi-controlled Europe, Bulgaria's Jews were rounded up by the SS and caged behind barbed wire fences near the train station. A train would soon arrive to ship them to Auschwitz. Well, shortly before the train arrived, Metropolitan Kirill intervened. He was head of the Bulgarian Orthodox Christian Church, and he risked his life to identify with the suffering and plight of the Bulgarian Jews. With the armed SS soldiers standing guard by the train station, Metropolitan Kirill boldly declared to the Jews that he would share in their fate, whatever that might be. And as he made his statement, it was almost like a flash mob. Thousands of Bulgarian Christians rallied to join him physically in his solidarity with the Jews. There must have been some conversation between him and his flock before this, but they responded, and these Bulgarian Christians overran the area by the train. Way too many that could fit in the train. Ultimately, with all these people, the Nazis surveyed the scene and backed down. The train left Bulgaria without a single Jewish person on board, and it never returned. Metropolitan Kirill and those other Christians were living in the Christ is risen paradigm. Now, with God's help, let's you and me live in this paradigm earthquake. Why? Because the resurrection of Jesus was far from an idle tale. How? Christ is high. Christ is risen. He is risen indeed. Hallelujah.